Today's show is sponsored by Datadog, a scalable, full-stack monitoring platform. Datadog synthetic monitoring enables you to detect front-end errors and performance errors by analyzing user sessions and receiving actionable alerts. API tests help you detect and debug user-facing issues in critical endpoints and applications. Build and deploy self-maintaining browser tests to simulate user journeys from global locations. Start proactively monitoring your user experience today with a free 14-day trial of Datadog by visiting datadog.com/frontend-cloudcast. That's datadog.com/frontend-cloudcast.
Cloudcast Media presents from the massive studios in Raleigh, North Carolina. This is the Cloudcast with Aaron Delp and Brian Gracely, bringing you the best of cloud computing from around the world.
Good morning, good evening, wherever you are, and welcome back to the Cloudcast. We're coming to you live from our massive Cloudcast studios here in Raleigh, North Carolina. And this is Aaron, and as I hit record on this, honestly, it's probably going to be a short news week. And the reason why is because I got my COVID booster yesterday, and my body is hating me right now. Hopefully everything will be better tomorrow. But let's jump right into Cloud News of the Week. Our first article, actually, if you follow like the Jedi contract and some of those other things before, the U.S. Army is now reportedly planning a $1 billion cloud migration contract. Going to be announced sometime next year. But what I also found really interesting about all of this is in 2022, they migrated 100 on-premises systems to the cloud, and this contract is all about modernization and moving to the cloud. They also discontinued 66 legacy systems. So, hey, that's pretty good numbers, 166 systems in 1 year. Well, they have 3,500 more to go. So they have their work cut out for them, and hence the size of this contract. And I'm sure this is one of those, just like the Jedi contract, it'll make lots and lots of news and continue on for quite some time. And for our next article, we're actually talking about Google Cloud Next. Happened this last week, and I'm going to do two links for those that like the short form version. There is Google Cloud Next in under 13 minutes. It is a YouTube video by the Google Cloud Tech team. It's a pretty good video, summarizes everything really well. And for those that prefer the long form content, there actually is another article, which is everything they announced, and it scrolls and scrolls and scrolls. And it is 123 things we announced at Google Cloud Next. So depending on what kind of content you like, whether it's video or long form text, there's something for you, and we've linked to both of them. And finally, Microsoft Ignite as well. Microsoft Ignite was also in that week. And I know we've covered this in the past, but there is what they call the Book of News. And I like the format a lot. It's very easy to kind of digest and figure out just the things that you want to focus on. And also it contrasts again to Google and how they put out their kind of news and this comprehensive coverage of the events as well. So with that, I'm going to wrap up Cloud News of the Week. Coming up after the break, we are going to be talking about QAos engineering with Benjamin Wilms.
If you want to get more out of your applications, then you need to know which parts of your code are consuming the most resources. Today's show is brought to you by gProfiler, an open source profiling tool for code performance in production. gProfiler is the must-have tool for performance and cost optimization, enabling any team to reap the benefits of continuous profiling and proactively look for optimization opportunities. gProfiler can be deployed cluster-wide in just minutes with no code changes or deployment modifications whatsoever. And best of all, it's free. So start profiling today at gprofiler.io. That's gprofiler.io. Buffering. How annoying. Did you know that 17 out of 20 people stop watching a video because of stalling and rebuffering? Don't let your users click away to a competitor's site. If your business lies in online media, rely on CDN77 to deliver a seamless online experience to your audience. CDN77 is one of the leading global providers of content delivery network services. They power the world's most popular websites and apps, such as Udemy, ESL Gaming, live sports TV, and social media platforms. Aside from their massive and redundant global network, you're going to love their no BS attitude and skilled team of engineers ready to help 24/7. No chatbots, no tickets bouncing around unresolved for days, just people who know your use case and can immediately help you pinpoint and fix the problems. Don't wait until your users run out of patience. Go to cdn77.com/cloudcast and ask for a free trial with no duration or traffic limits. That's cdn77.com/cloudcast. And we're back. And Aaron, it's good to be both doing a couple of these shows together. We've been finding the right schedule for the last couple of weeks. It's been good.
Yeah, and it's funny too with kind of the march back up to trade shows being in person again. I know it's kept you busy. I know it's kept me busy. We're all trying to remember how to do trade shows again. But I also think we're getting a little bit more effective and streamlined over the years in getting these scheduled and finding times and gaps in schedules where we can both get on.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things you talked about in the last week's or one of the last week's Cloud News of the Week was the idea of platform engineering. And one of the functions that sort of starts to come out of something like platform engineering is this idea of, we want to build resiliency in the platform, in the systems that we have. And that really sort of lends into the next topic that we really want to dig into today, which is chaos engineering. And it's something that we briefly talked about, I feel like maybe a couple of years ago when the concept first sort of came out, but we haven't really dove into it that much. So we're really excited to kind of dig into that.
Yep, absolutely. And, what we did is on this is, hey, let's go find an expert in this. And so today we have Benjamin Wilms, co-founder and CEO of Steadybit. And Benjamin, why don't you go ahead and give everyone a quick introduction, please?
Of course. And thanks a lot for having me and to call me an expert. So, who am I? So I'm Benjamin. I'm one of the founders of Steadybit. Steadybit is still an early startup. We founded Steadybit in 2019. But what about me? Why I started Steadybit? Maybe that's a good starting point. I started my career as a developer in 1999. I'm still a developer by heart. So my biggest motivation is to solve problems with a solid solution. And then it's not stopping for me. It's more like then I would like to share what I have achieved, what I have built, and what my solution is looking like with other people. And that's like the biggest motivation for myself. And that was also the starting point why I founded Steadybit.
Fantastic. And Benjamin, let's jump straight into the concept of chaos engineering because it serves as the foundation for everything else we're going to be talking about today. Kind of in its simplest form, I've always thought of chaos engineering. It intentionally is taking down parts of either a test system or a production system. And, we famously heard about it, at Netflix back in the day, but we've always heard about it once it's in production, once the software has already shipped. And so, a lot of times it's handled by the SRE teams and it's handled by the operations side. And it forces applications to become more resilient over time, but it becomes not a matter of if production will go down, but when it goes down. And yes, it makes systems better over time, but you did consulting in exactly this area and found some, I'll just use the term weaknesses in this approach, which led to founding Steadybit. So tell everyone a little bit about the mindset back then and then the limitations you found.
Yes. So it started for me also with chaos engineering in, let's say, it was 6 to 7 years ago. And of course, if you take a look at the method, at the principles of chaos engineering, you should do it in production. And it was also introduced to do it in a randomly way. But to be honest, I'm a big believer that if you are starting a production, it's even too late. You have to take care about in a very early stage of your environment, of your development cycle. And also, what I have seen at our customers is it's not limited to just one expert group. Because normally, if you take a look at chaos engineering, you need to be an expert for the method, for the principles, for all the tools you need to do chaos engineering. And that's normally limited to a small group, like the SRE departments, like the DevOps people. But that's not a job for them alone. You need to involve other people. You need to have a very close connection to your development teams, to your product engineering teams, and both parties need to be participating to improve the systems, to to create better systems.
Yeah, and it seems like in the chaos engineering space, there's very much kind of a focus, a discussion around more proactive, kind of approaches to downtime, to resiliency. It feels like to a certain extent, though, and I'd love to kind of get your feedback. Back in the day, and I'm sure you remember this, having developed for a long time, we used to have the idea that like you had enterprise architects and they were very much focused on how do I build resilient systems? And then you had, sort of dedicated QA groups who were really looking at how do we make sure that the code, is kind of free from bugs and so on and so forth. And now it feels like we've kind of gotten away from those dedicated things into kind of pushing the challenge back onto developers, onto SRE teams. Like, how's it sort of evolved in the real world? So, you can't just sort of snap your fingers and go, hey, chaos engineering. Like, have QA teams sort of embraced this? Are the developers like now excited that they just have this new set of tools? Like, how's it evolved in the real world in terms of what people do, what their jobs are, who owns this sort of stuff?
Mm-hmm. So if you go into organizations and you're telling them, okay, you should also do chaos engineering on top of all, it's not working. It's something which has not been picked up by the people because they are always like in the situation, to be hunted by their own systems, to be in a firefighter mode all the time, and so there's no time to improve their systems proactively, and it needs to be a shared responsibility inside of those organizations. So it's not longer limited by just the performance people need to do it or just Q&A should do it. It's more like, okay, we can use the experience, the knowledge from the SRE departments, from the people that are sitting in front of production, or maybe they are fixing incidents all day long. We can use this knowledge to hand it over to developers, to other people that we need to build reliable systems. And that's more the shift we can see. It's taking a while, and it's more like this, how's it called? I'm not a native speaker, so sorry. Collaborative ownership of the system you are providing, you're producing.
Yep. Yeah. And that, I'll use the term shared responsibility as that model, Benjamin. And a follow-up question to exactly that, because we certainly are seeing, kind of, well, of course, DevOps and everything that comes along with DevOps and the concepts, but at times there's pushback on a lot of these, and it almost seems like at times developers embrace certain things, and then at times they tend to push back on certain things. When you go back to your consulting days, and even as a customer that would be interested in this as a platform, and they're interested in pursuing with Steadybit, how do you talk to the developers and kind of get them on board and not make it just seem like more work for them?
Yeah, that's the biggest challenge, because let me start by describing developers. So I'm also a developer by heart. I also love to develop new things. And to be honest, developers don't care about security or resilience aspects as long as someone is as something is not working in production. Maybe my last implementation showed up in a new bug. We need now to improve again the system because something was not right in the first try. And that's the situation developers don't like to be so often. And that's where you can help them to be more proactive, to do it in a more testing approach. So if you are just telling them you need to do chaos engineering, and to be honest, someone who's not able to spend so much time to get all the knowledge to do chaos engineering, how they should start. And you need to do it in a way that developers can improve their own skills. They need to be able to learn something for themselves, and then you are able to convince them that they will help you to improve your system proactively.
Yeah, I've often wondered, and this is almost going to sound silly, but we've reached a point where every aspect of business is very digitized, right? It's all represented in software, and if you go to most business people and you say, "Hey, I'd like to introduce QAos into your business," they would go, "No, thank you. There's the door. I'm not interested." Right? And I almost sort of wonder if QAos engineering sometimes struggles from just kind of naming convention, marketing convention, right? If it was thought of as sort of reliability engineering, and I only bring that up because we have this fallacy in our industry that we talk about blameless postmortems, and yes, something went down, and the best practice is we should talk about it, we should figure it out, and nobody's to blame. But the reality is, like, somebody always gets blamed, and so if you're the person who goes, yeah. So we had an outage and it was introduced by me introducing this tool that's called QAos. I feel like you put somebody in sort of a bad position, right? Like almost in a position where they feel very hesitant to introduce this concept, which is like, hey, I'm not trying to break things for chaos reasons. I'm trying to break them for reliability reasons to make the system stronger. It's like giving somebody, like a shot, like we all did when the COVID came along. Do you find sometimes people are just, struggle or resistant or hesitant because they feel like, I don't know how to explain the concept of QAos and resiliency to the business? Does that ever come up, and does it ever kind of come up, or do you find that very often?
Yeah, this come up. This also was discovered with our early customers because, of course, QAos engineering is a nice door opener for. Okay, we need to talk about this topic, and that's something you can achieve. But if you would like to get an approval or a budget to buy, let's say, a Steadybit license, and you're talking to your management, okay, now we will break our system all the day, all long, in production even. That's not a good starting point. So that's also why I'm a big believer that you need to do it in earlier stages. You need to do it in your dev environment, in your staging environment, QA environment. That's the place where you should check and validate if your system is prepared for production, because production is not a happy place to be. Production hates you. So production is fighting against you, and that's something you should be aware of. And
yeah, no, I think it's great. I'm gonna actually give you a free piece of marketing. It's a $1 million marketing idea. We're gonna start calling it QAos engineering. There you go. Right? Nice. You're just moving it back. QAos engineering. I think you could start using that as a way to introduce the concept.
Yeah, but also it's from our customer perspective, also what our early adopters are from the SRE departments, from QA and performance teams. Those departments, those people are picking up, a Steadybit to get started with them. So it's not so far away.
Yeah, that's
QA engineer.
Well, and Benjamin, very similar topic along this is, justification of the business value, if you will, right? Like if outages can be measured, and like I almost think of this again, like trying to put a positive spin on this, because if you look at like things that tend to get a bad rap at time, like security or ransomware, of like, yeah, you can measure an outage after it happens, and it's, this much downtime or this many hundreds of thousands or $1 million in lost revenue or other things like that. But a lack of outages is harder to quantify because, hey, it worked. And, was it because of the tool? Was it not because of the tool? Right. And so does it ever become an issue convincing organizations because the business justification gets hard?
That is a topic, to be honest, because if Steadybit is working well in your organization and you will no longer receive any resilience-related outages in production, is this a job done by Steadybit, or how to measure it? So how to do the connection? So if everything is doing well, you will not receive new outages in production. But what our customers are doing is they are able to map the incidents they are seeing in their monitoring solutions if they are connected to a specific reliability issue or maybe a resilience related topic. And that's something where they can measure like, okay, now we have no longer so much incidents related or connected to those reliability resilience engineering aspects. Yeah. That's something they can do. And what they are also doing is they are more able to handle the risk. So if you are not, so to be honest, developers and product engineering teams are measured on feature velocity. They need to get new features into production as fast as possible. But there's a risk coming with that approach. It's like, okay, new features is good for our customers, but if our customer is not able to use our new features, or maybe we are losing them because they are not able to work with our newly designed systems, that's something which is not working quite well. So they need to get a clear picture about the risk in their systems they have developed, and that's something you can do with a testing approach. So you can run recurring test cases to verify that you are not running in the same incident again and again and again. And that's something you can measure.
Yeah, and that's a perfect segue into Steadybit itself. And because when we say we're moving chaos engineering, reliability engineering, whatever we want to call it, into the CI/CD pipeline, what does that really mean? Is that code that is added? Is that testing simulations that have to be passed? Tell everyone a little bit about how it actually works and in practicality.
Mm-hmm. So the normal journey is, or no, not the normal journey. It's more like one use case you can see is like there was an incident, and now you would like to replay a specific incident. You would like to transform an incident into, let's say, a regression test. So you would like to use Steadybit to say, okay, last night there was an outage in 2 zones of our cloud provider from one of our core services. And that's something you can use, you can use Steadybit for to replace it, to recreate it. And then you are just executing in your staging environment the specific experiment, the specific test case to verify if you now can replay this incident over and over again to see if your last improvement will fix this incident. And then you can go into production. Like, okay, it's more like a quality check. And the next logical step is now you would like to automate this because you would like to use this created test case experiment to do it as a regression test, to take care that you are not running again with the same incident because of a new feature which has now been pushed into production. And at this point, you will need to integrate it in your CI/CD system. You need to make it. You need to do it in an automated way, and that's what you are doing with Steadybit, because everything you are creating with Steadybit is nothing less than code under hood. So it's just a YAML structure you are creating, and Steadybit can use this YAML structure to execute your test cases, your collection of experiments.
Nice. Okay, fantastic. Thank you for that. And you touched on it earlier, but I want to clarify this. What organizations tend to embrace this the most? Like, if you're coming into an organization, who's interested in it first? Is it the SRE team? Is it the QA team? Is it the development team? Is it, maybe a more the executive team and the leadership team has a mandate to, better uptime? Tell everyone a little bit about that as a final talking point here before we wrap up.
Mm-hmm. So our ideal customer is looking like, or what is our normal customer? They are from areas like SaaS provider, like e-commerce platforms, or fintech insurance companies that are providing a service for their customers. And there's a very, very close connection to their customers. So, for example, if their service is not reachable, they are losing customer trust. They are losing revenue immediately. And that's like the group of customers who are the early adopters, or because they have created very large and complex systems. So one of our customers is located in France, is an e-commerce platform provider. And there's a small group of experts, and they are providing, or they are taking care about production. On the other side, on the left side, there's a group of 500 developers pushing into production every day with new features, new releases. And so production is always in an unstable situation, and that's something they need to be aware of. And that's something we see. And the early groups who are picking up Steadybit is from the SRE departments, is from performance departments, whose job is to take care about that production is working like expected.
Fascinating. Thank you, Benjamin. That's really good insight, and it's good to take this time and thank you for educating us. Like Brian had said in the introduction, it's been a couple years since we've really talked about this topic, and it's good to see this advance, and it's good to follow this and watch this continue to advance. And so with that, I'm going to close us out for this week. On behalf of Brian and myself, thank you to everyone for listening, and thank you, Benjamin, for your time this week. As always, you can send us feedback through email or through Twitter, and you can also leave us a review and tell a friend if you're enjoying the show as well. And so with that, we're going to wrap it up, and we will talk to everyone next week.
Thank you for listening to The Cloudcast. Please visit thecloudcast.net to find more shows, show notes, videos, and everything social media.